Morning again, everybody. So today we continue our series on building healthy relationships. We're on week 2. Last week we looked at blessings, and this week we take the next step in our relationship journey. So I want to share with you a couple of phrases that perhaps you have used, or perhaps you have heard others in your life use. Listen to these. I know that I can be difficult sometimes, but it's just the way I am. I'm a very passionate person, and sometimes I let it run away with me. Sorry, I just talk so much, and sometimes I stop thinking. I grew up in a family, and this is our family culture, and this just is who I am. I am shy, and that's why I don't like to speak to people. These and many other variations of these phrases we hear with regards to poor behavior or to poor communication. But in hearing these, we will hear it in our marriages, in our families, within the workplace, within community. It's a part of our life and the way we handle our own spiritual journeys. And when we hear these sayings from people, hear these phrases, we have a tendency to say, okay, that's fair. At least they've owned it. Right? They know they're difficult, or they know they're blunt. Right? And maybe that's why we're using it. We're using it to point out to people, well, this is who I am. But what it actually is a neatly packaged and disguised excuse. It's an excuse that we've come to rely on and to use because there is an underlying assumption that we make. There is the underlying assumption that there are fundamental parts of my life that I just can't change. This is just who I am. That's an assumption that we make. We use these phrases also when we are unwilling to face up to something that is deeper within us. Perhaps there is a fear around what I will discover if I go deeper. And so these assumptions and this unwillingness or the fear allows us to use these and to remain unchanged. Right? It's easy for us to look at our outward behavior and to say, well, I can apologize for this. This is who I am. I can use it to accept this is who I am. And I can use it to allow other people to just deal with who I am. But there's an underlying issue here of not actually getting down to dealing with that underlying issue. We believe that this is who I am. We believe that somehow I can't change this in me. This is just who I am. It's part of my hereditary. We just got to learn to accept it. We use this as part of a tactic to not change. Right? We don't like change, whatever form it takes. We don't like change. And this is a tactic that we use from our proprium, where our proprium is able to, as it were, split itself and say, here's a piece of me, and here's a piece of me. And from this side of my proprium, I can look at the other side of my life and say, that there's a problem there. Look, can you see there's a problem there in my life? And as long as I say it first, As long as I put it out there that this is a problem in my life, then at least everyone understands, but I still haven't changed anything. It just allows me to accept, well, this is part of my life. Our proprium is very good at splitting itself, judging itself, but in a very superficial way, and allowing us to continue moving forward unchanged, stuck in the same habits. Chastising ourselves in front of other people is a coping mechanism. It gives us an excuse to carry on in our same way. But the Lord taught us differently. The Lord teaches in the New Testament and over in the teachings for the new church that we need to go deeper. We can see it outwardly in our lives, but we need to go deeper. I want to read to you a selection of passages from Matthew 5. You can follow along in your pew card if you'd like. In Matthew 5 we read, "You have heard that it was said of those of old, 'You shall not murder.' But I say to you that whoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment. You have heard that it was said to those of old, 'You shall not commit adultery.' But I say to you that whoever looks at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. You have heard that it was said, 'You shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy.' But I say to you, love your enemy, bless those who curse you, do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you." In all those teachings that the Lord gives us, He's pointing out something old and He's giving us something new. We need to look at our lives in the same way. Those old habits that we have of justifying or excusing our habits, those are old. And the Lord wants a new life for us. He wants something new for life, but it requires that we look deeper into ourselves, away from the surface and down into what really matters in our life. So if we are looking to build healthy relationships with our spouse, with our family, at work, we've got to start looking for what is at the source. What is at the source of my anger, at the source of my frustration, of the source of my bluntness, or of my sarcasm, or of my excuses? What is at the source of these things in my life? Right? It's easy to chastise myself and to point out my mistakes to other people and allow myself to continue walking in that way, but it's a lot more difficult and requires a lot more energy, a lot more focus to engage with the Lord, to go deeper into our lives. It takes courage. It takes discipline. It takes time to really start looking deep into our lives. What are those deeper feelings that are rising up within me? What are those thoughts that then come from those feelings? The Lord wants us to start investigating those things, to start to notice more about what's happening within me. As we go into this journey, we start to notice that it is very easy for us to have strong emotions and have strong thoughts and opinions and to feel like they come from outside, right? You made me angry. You frustrate me. Right? You aren't listening. Right? You are wrong. We have very strong feelings and opinions and ideas that then flow from those feelings that say, my enemy is outside of me, that my problem is outside of me and not within me. But as we do that deep dive, we start to realize, well, hang on. The enemy's not out there. The enemy is within me. They didn't make me upset. I reacted. There was a reaction within me. There were feelings within me that rose up, and then my thoughts got involved. And so it's in me. That's where the enemy lies. I want to read to you from Heaven and Hell, number 302. If we believe the way things really are, that everything good comes from the Lord and everything evil from hell, then we would not take credit for the good within us or blame for the evil. Whenever we thought or did anything good, we would focus on the Lord, and any evil that flowed in, we would throw back into the hell it came from. So the spiritual principle there is we are just vessels. We are receiving life either from heaven or we're receiving it from hell. Those are the two influences on our lives, and those generate then the affections that we have and the thoughts that we have from that. So if we could just realize what is true, that the negative things that we feel are from the hells, we could just throw them back to hell. The verse continues, but since we do not believe, this is the challenge of our life. We have a lot of knowledge, and perhaps this is a principle that you know already. You know already things come from heaven and things come from hell. They aren't really mine. But having a knowledge of it is very different from believing it. To believe something is to live it every day. Do we every day stop and think, well, this is from heaven or this is from hell? We don't notice that. We don't think that way. Right? So since we do not believe in any inflow from heaven or from hell, and therefore believe that everything we think and intend in us and from us, we make the evil our own and defile the good with our feelings that we deserve it. Yeah. So we have these feelings that rise within us, and because we don't believe, right, because we can't feel and sense that within us, we take those feelings as ourself. Well, this is who I am. No, it's not. Those are the hells influencing you. Or this good that I'm feeling now, this is mine. I feel good. I'm great. No, it's the Lord's within you. Right? So we got to become aware that the things that we feel aren't us. They're not ours. They flow into us. And there is something that we can do about whether we accept it into our lives or throw it back to hell. So the reality is that the enemy is not out there. The enemy is in here. Right? It's not my spouse who's the enemy. It's not my children or my parents or my boss or the government. The enemy's not out there that is making me feel bad and upset. It's me. The enemy is in me, flowing up in me, and I am accepting it as my own. And so in life, whenever we experience a difficulty, whenever there's a disagreement, whenever we don't get on with our children or our spouse or our boss, whoever it might be, whenever there's a disagreement, right, the hells love disagreement. Right? It's an opportunity for them to come flowing in. The hells want nothing but to divide people. So when there's disagreement, they're in there. Right? They're flowing up within you and saying, they're wrong. Right? They're the problem. They're causing me pain. The reality is it's within me. I am reacting. I am choosing those thoughts. I am dwelling on this. And we can push hell back to where it came. I want to read to you from The Secrets of Heaven, 1049. The Lord knows that our self-centeredness reflects hell and is our actual hell. So when we're in that state of being upset and angry and frustrated, we're in hell, in our own hell, because our self-will keeps us in touch with the hells. Self-will is such, on its own and by hell's inspiration, that its strongest, keenest wish is to throw itself headlong into hell. That is us, right? The Lord is speaking about you and me, that we love to throw ourselves headlong into hell. Think for a moment about those feelings that come up within you of anger or frustration, whatever it is, against someone. How easily do you just fall straight into expressing that anger and frustration against that person? How easily we throw ourselves headlong into that hell. But since, wrong verse. And it is not content with this, but wants to drag everyone else in the universe along with it. Right? When we are upset, we want others to be upset. When we are angry, we want others to feel our pain. Right? Hell wants to drag other people down with us. It's not okay for just me to be upset. Everyone must know that I am upset. Because the Lord knows it. Right? The Lord knows this. He knows we follow the hells. We head straight down into the hells. The Lord knows this. He knows it. And He uses divine means to regenerate us and draw us up to heaven with a powerful force. The Lord wants to save us. He wants to draw each one of us up into heaven, out of those hells that we are in, so far as our nature allows Him to. There is an important part that we need to play. We need to partner with the Lord on this journey. Right? The Lord wants to lift us up out of those personal hells that we are in, but we've got to partner with Him. We've got to be a part of the solution. And what is that solution? We read from True Christian Religion 5:30. What is the point of examining ourselves unless we recognize our sins? So that's where it starts. Can we recognize that we have thrown ourselves into hell? What is the point of that recognition unless we admit that those sins are in us? Right? Not a surface, oh, well, this is a problem I have, but a deep realizing that this is the hells within me, and I don't want this. Right? It's that deep recognition of where this feeling comes from, where this reaction in me is coming from, where these thoughts are coming from. They are not me. They are coming from the hells. And I would love the Lord to lift me out of those things, but it requires our participation. The Lord is on our side. The Lord is on our side. And He wants our cooperation. So here is a task that you can take home with you. A task for this week. Taking a spiritual principle and trying to bring it into action in your life. So this week's task is to observe your intentions. Right? Intentions are those deepest part of us, part of our lives. Right? Can we observe and willingly go deep into ourselves? Consider the influence you have on your relationships. Right? Am I bringing heaven to my relationships, or am I bringing the hell to my relationships? honestly and courageously observe any negative intentions, feelings, thoughts, and actions that you contribute to these relationships. Right? The enemy is not out there. Your spouse is not your enemy. Your children are not your enemy. Right? The enemy is within me. How am I contributing to the upset in relationships? And at the bottom there, love your enemies, bless those who curse you. When we're working with the Lord and realize that the true enemy is not my neighbor, the true enemy is within me, then we can love and care for anybody who is around us, because they're not the enemy. The enemy is within me. Love our enemies, love our neighbor, bless those who curse us. Amen.